Welcome to Behind the Camera, a show dedicated to the producers, directors, technicians, and all the people that bring the images of sport to your television every night. I'm your host, Uncle Jesse. On today's show, I sit down with Mitch Riggin. He's a network director for Fox Sports. He also directs for the Anaheim Angels for Fox Sports West. Welcome in, Mitch. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. Nice to be here in this strange time we're going through for all of us here in this freelance world.
I was going to say, I noticed your hairdo is a little different today.
Yeah.
I like the quarantine cut. I'm going with the quarantine shag because I'm like, my hair is just getting crazy.
Yeah, you know what? I figured we're kind of in the Mad Max kind of time, Mad Max kind of world. I figured I just live the part. You know, I'm kind of a visual person. I figured this might help. You know, it's a little strange moving into a new neighborhood. I did have the hair normal when I first moved in, but then a couple days later I had the mohawk, and some of the neighbors were giving me like, "Hey, welcome to the neighborhood, guy." You know, everyone's 6 feet distance.
Yeah.
But
good thing for quarantine,
yeah.
right?
Exactly. You know, and also it does kind of with the beard. It kind of it's kind of a good symmetry. It's a good upside down. I think it might work the same both ways. So I don't know.
That's great. Well, the best part about our industry is that you kind of do get to be yourself. So it's fun that way. How did you get started? You started like most of us. I mean, I direct like you do, and we all usually go through the TD route. We punch the buttons and sit next to directors to learn our craft. But is that how you got started?
Yeah, you know, I started out, you know, like a lot of us, I started out as a runner in like 1991 in the Bay Area. I started out as a runner, worked my way up, did some ADing, I did some stage managing, did utility before that, obviously, grip work, all that kind of stuff like that. And then I worked my way into TD, and I was pretty lucky. I picked it up pretty quick. I was able to kind of grasp the concept. And luckily, the same switcher they had in the Jumbotron at Candlestick Park, they had in the truck, which was kind of amazing at that point. So I was able to transition into that, and started TDing. And then in '96, I was TD the International World Series, and then from '97 to 2000, I TD'd the Fox postseason and the Game of the Week with Bill Webb. It was quite an experience, and I was really lucky. In '96, I did the World Feed, and they weren't real happy with the guy who was TDing there for Fox, and they asked me to do it the next year. And it was a wonderful experience, and it really kind of opened up a lot of doors for me. That's
awesome. So early in your career, you got to do an All-Star game, right?
Yeah. So '97 All-Star game was you know, I started doing some games of the week, and back then they started, I think, in May or something like that. They didn't do every one. And those are big shows, and you know, we were working with a big crew, and you had a set day and whatnot. So that was kind of unusual for me to get used to that. But the first All-Star game was '97, and we were in Cleveland, and I was nervous. You know, it was a big show, and you know, John Filippelli gives me the big speech. All right, guy, you know, you've done a few shows for us Saturdays, and you have a mistake, but you know, the whole world's watching now, and all baseball is watching, so we need you to do a clean show. So I'm like, oh God, you know, a little more pressure. So we're doing the game, and we've got 2 trucks hooked up to control all this stuff. It was, you know, it's before we could map TDs per ME. You had to have a separate truck. Anyways, we're doing a little test interview with Tim McCarver, and the other truck's hooked up with a GPI. They can control my trigger, and all of a sudden we're sit down with the commissioner, and all of a sudden my replay, whoosh, it goes off, and I'm like, everyone looks at me like, "What'd you do?" I'm like, "I didn't do anything. I didn't touch anything." And I get on with the next door to the guys in the truck. I said, "Hey, you guys do anything over there?" Like, "Oh, we didn't do anything." And I'm like, "Oh God, this is going to be really scary." Anyways, we get through the interview. It turns out they had powered off the DVE, and that sent a GPI pulse to my DVE, and it triggered the replay wipe, but they didn't want to admit it. But so that was one fun thing. And then we actually get to the game next day, and I don't know if you remember, but I think the year before, Randy Johnson had thrown an inside pitch at who was it? Kruk, and he went up there and he got dusted, and he went up there and put his hat on backwards and bat left-handed. So the next year, this is '97 now, and I forget who's batting. Who was it? Is it Kruk again? No, I think it's Larry Walker, I think. And so we flash back to it. We have to bail out of this package early because the pitch is coming. Back then, Bill Webb had a blue flash, which was kind of unusual. So he used this blue flash. And so instead of effect out of it, he wanted a flash out of it. So now I'm like, one of those moments where you're just like, oh shit, I got to get this done. So I go down to my program bus. I hit the button that should be the wipe, which I'd copied over to be a flash. And it turns out it's a wipe, and it goes, but we get out just in time, and Tim McCarver, and he throws inside. He goes, "He did it again! He did it again!" And I remember thinking, "Oh my God, if we would have missed that moment." So if you go back and watch, and it's on tape somewhere, I've called it up on YouTube, and you go back and you watch that moment, you'll see a left or right wipe go across just in time to get out to see the pitch go inside and almost hit him. So that was one of those moments where you realize, okay, I think I can do this. You know, it was scary, but you also realize as a technician, sometimes I really didn't even know what my hands did. That's when I knew I was could do it, because I just instinctively reached for stuff. I didn't have to look. And anyways, that was one of those fun moments where you kind of like look back and I go, I'm so glad we didn't miss that pitch. I'm so glad we didn't miss that pitch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's always my nightmare, is that you're going to not hit the button early enough and you're going to miss a replay, miss a pitch, you're going to miss a bucket, you're going to miss whatever it is. And so, yeah, that's the worst feeling in the world. But it also shows that, honestly, things don't always go perfect in the truck. You know, we always wish they did. Every director, every technician, everybody, we all wish everything goes perfect, but there's not that many perfect games. You had a quite unperfect experience in 2000 at the World Series. Tell me about that one.
Yeah, so in 2000, it was the last. I pretty much knew it was going to be the last World Series I was going to do, and we ended up doing the Yankees and the Mets. So Yankees and Mets set up. So great, awesome. We're going to have the same truck. They said, "Oh no, we're going to set up two separate trucks. One's going to have a Sony switcher, and one's going to have a Grass Valley switcher." Now, if you know anything about TDing back then, they're separate. It's like a different mindset for each one of those switchers. They each have a different function. So I had to go between, luckily I only went 4-game series. So I had to go between 2 games on the Sony switcher, 2 games on the Grass Valley switcher. And the thing that was most difficult after you just actually wrapping your head around the thought process on each one was that the cut button and the dissolve button for the fonts were exactly opposite. So you had to, on the Sony, it was to the left, and on the switch, on the Grass, switch to the right, I think. But anyways, it was backwards. And then we had to add, on top of that, multiple downstream keyers to match the keyers for the Sony. So then we had the same thing. We had 2 trucks tied together, and I'll never forget. So you're going through all these different things. You got trucks tied together. You got cameras. Well, Bill Webb always skipped camera 13. It was kind of his thing. So there's never a 13. So the first night we faxed, we were getting to Yankee Stadium. And it's late and it's long. When everyone's done the postseason, you know, you've done the whole postseason. So you've been on the road now for almost 20 days, something like that. And sure enough, all right, camera, it always went to camera 13, which would be camera 14, was always in the separate truck. So now it's like midnight. We're faxing. Okay, camera 13, do you have a tally? No tally. Oh my God. So we spent. And then camera 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, on down the line, everything was 1 off for all the way down. And you're just like, oh my God. And I remember Dave Chesney, all these guys right there. They had rats climbing around inside that stadium. This is the old Yankee Stadium. And they're trying to fax. I think we got it about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Once we finally got everything figured out. Like, hey, camera 13. Oh, so 13. Okay, so camera 14. It was just, oh God. It was just one of those. It was one of those World Series that I was glad to see. It only went 4. And that was my last one as well too. It was kind of bittersweet. I didn't know for sure it was going to be my last one, but it was still a fun experience. And the Yankees were the Yankees. That was the whole time I was basically TDing for the Fox. It's when the Yankees were just the powerhouse there that they were. So we were always in Yankee Stadium.
I'm trying to remember that series because then obviously the next year was 9/11 and the Yankees and the Diamondbacks, and so. Yeah, those Yankees were definitely a powerhouse, and then of course working with the legend like Billy Webb had to be fun.
Yeah, working with Webby was a very learning experience. I'm lucky. I think I've learned with 2 of the best baseball directors, Jim Lynch and Bill Webb. I think are the 2 best guys. Each had their own strength. Bill Webb was obviously legendary in the postseason. I learned a lot of my initial chops from Jim Lynch working in Jumbotron in the Bay Area. But yeah, working with Webby was I never saw that guy really get stressed. I mean, he smoked a lot. That was his form of stress. He'd be sitting there smoking. He'd go outside the truck and say, "Hey, take 4." He'd stay in the back of the truck outside and smoke. And I remember one time it was actually in the 2000 World Series. He went out. He would go on the platform outside the truck, and we took the blimp. And we say, "Hey, Blimp," because he had a special channel. I'd go talk to him and say, "Hey, go over, zoom in on the outside of the truck." So we recorded Webby smoking outside the truck on the porch. And so when he walked back in, he saw the Blimp following back in. He goes, "Go f yourself. Go f So we played it back, and it was pretty funny. He had a sense of humor, and he let me direct. That was really cool. Like, he let me direct World Series. When, like, on blowout games, he would say, like, hey, he would always go, "You want some chair time?" And I'd say, "What? You want some chair time?" And I'd say, "Well, yeah."
Yeah.
So it'd be like 7-0 in the in the 8th inning of a game, and I'd be cutting the shit out of everything. Like, give me the signals. I was doing everything crazy. People at home probably didn't notice, but I just wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Actually, when we were moving down here to LA, I went through a box of tapes, and I got rid of them, but I had tapes that had, like, World Series, 6th inning director or whatever. I had VHS tapes of that, stuff like that. So I was grateful for him to do that. And then, he was also, he said nice things to my bosses as well too, to help me, continue on. And, he helped me get to NFL Europe, which is what I kind of got to do right after that.
Your experience in NFL Europe, that was a whole different endeavor for everybody.
Yeah, it was great. That was right when I was, I think I went over there in 99. So I went over the 99, 2000, 2001, 2002. I think I was there for 4 years. And because I was at TD, and Webby's had put some nice words in, I got to go over there and kind of, like, learn from some of the best, football guys. Rich Russo was there, and he took me under his wing, and I picked his brain. And those guys were so gracious in sharing knowledge and camera assignments and talking, things like that. And that was one of those experiences. It was awesome. Karina and I went over there for, I think, 5 weeks at a time. I think 5 weeks. And then I think one time we went 4 weeks. We were based in London. And so, yeah, you're based in London. You got a flat there. And then you travel every weekend either to, Amsterdam or Germany. Or it was, needless to say, it was a lot of fun. It was a great learning experience. You're working with crews that didn't speak English a lot of times, or English was a second language. And we were in Germany, and show wasn't going so well, and you're trying to figure things out. It was trying to get terminology down. And I remember there was just like, we're just like pulling teeth. We're kind of going, and Kevin Green was our analyst. We're working with him. And so finally, at one point I said, all right, now we're cooking with gas. And there was kind of a silence. And then this guy comes on and goes, "Is that good?" And I was like, yeah, that's good. That's right. Like colloquialisms didn't really play that well, but it was such a great experience. And, that in turn led to me working for college football with Fox, because I got to do that with them. Although it was several years later, but it was still an amazing experience. And, guys like, John Ward, who now runs DirecTV, Jeff Gowan was over there.
We interviewed Jeff.
I work with quite a lot of people that were over there that are still talk about some of those great stories of being NFL Europe. And it was, like I said, it was a great experience. I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah. So how soon after that did you get into regional television? Your first job was in Wisconsin, correct? Yeah. So I worked with 3 different regionals. So I've worked Wisconsin for 5, 6, and 7. And then I was in Milwaukee for 5, 6, 7, and then Arizona after that, 8 to 14. And then we moved to Oregon, kind of slowed down a little bit. And then I ended up picking up the Angel stuff. And so I've been with Angels. This will be my, 4th year with them? Yeah. So now we moved down here to do that. So yeah, it's interesting working with 3 different regions, because each one has its own strength. And so I've been able to really work with some interesting people and really kind of hone my craft along the way. Milwaukee was a great experience, kind of the first time I had my own kind of quote unquote crew, and worked with John Walsh there, who has gone on to do other things and now is back in there. I believe he's moved back. That was a great experience. All 3 places have great crews. I really feel like all those places have just some phenomenal crews. I've been really lucky to work with them, and I'm friends with each and every one of those guys today. I mean, the majority of the people I'm still friends with, and I work with some of them on a national level as well. Lindsay Greshel, who's now his name is Lindsay Plojak. I thought she should have been Greshel Plojak, hyphenated that, but I gave her, I didn't give her, but I hired her the first time for one of her gigs, and that's when I was still a pretty good CD, so I was able to help her kind of prepare. For regional stuff and whatnot. And now she ended up TDing XFL with me on a national level, and she does CBS stuff. So it's really rewarding to see some of those people that you work with on the regional level, especially people like her that I kind of like helped along and get to the national level. And then obviously a lot of guys from Phoenix I work with as well on the national level as well too. So it's been interesting working for different regionals, and then coming down here
to LA, which is where I first met my wife, Karina. She was in LA. So I kind of knew a lot of the people down here. A lot of those guys were on the national crew on the Saturday game of the week with me for the Fox baseball. So I knew a lot of those guys already. So it was kind of full circle.
What is one of your favorite memories from Wisconsin early in your career? I mean, your first kind of your show that you just get to mold and shape.
God, there's a lot of, I mean, let's see. Well, the first one, I guess that would be 7, was the first year they didn't have a losing season. So they finished 500. So that was pretty fun in the fact that, they kind of celebrated that. God, what are some other ones? I had a lot of fun. I remember one time specifically, I bet a guy an underbody car wash if the guy hit a home run the next pitch. And he hit a home run the next pitch. And I just remember screaming, "That's an underbody car wash, take 4!" I remember cutting that, have a lot of fun with that. That was, one of the things we did there too is I had instituted some new camera positions, right? They had a new owner. So we installed like a left field camera that's on a lift. The team helped us out in that. So that was pretty cool to be able to kind of like mold some stuff. Then we added a new right field position as well. So some of those things like that were pretty cool and fun to do. That left field camera, they still use to this day, I believe. Put some things in the wall. And I remember the only rule was we were not supposed to shoot because we could shoot up the dugout tunnel. We were not supposed to shoot up that dugout tunnel. So sure enough, what happens? The Mets were in, and Webby's taking a feed of that camera, and there's a fight in that tunnel, right? And it's like, and we see it, and the Mets play it, and so it's like, oh, what are we gonna do now, And so I'm like, so I go, Bill, this is Rock, Bill Schroeder, and I go, hey man, there's a fight in the dugout. And he goes, well, we can't show that. I go, the Mets just showed it. We're gonna look stupid if we don't show it, because it's gonna be like, well, So he goes, okay, we'll show it, but I won't say what happened. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, great. So we didn't show up the tunnel part. We just showed the last part. And unbeknownst to us, actually what happened is going to commercial break, I actually went back and watched. We actually showed, I forget the catcher's name, but he ran down and threw a punch at the manager. So we actually saw it go in the break. We didn't really know it until I came back and watched it, went back. So you see him get up and run down there. So anyways, we showed it and played it. But that was the one, I guess, thing I remember. There was one of those things like, oh, that was kind of, everything was fine. We showed it, touched on it, and it was a big story, but we didn't get in trouble because luckily the Mets showed it first. So it was like, that was their camera. Hey, no, it wasn't our camera. Yeah, right. The one thing I was talking that I do remember or had a lot of fun with in Arizona is, you probably remember this, I think it still gets used to this day, is the pool and the ball in the pool.
The pool, yes.
Yeah, that was just one of those things where it's just like, I don't even know why we thought about this, but it was just like, I just got a GoPro. It wasn't even a GoPro back then. It was a little 4x3 camera. I got a bag, we zipped it up, and I had my friend sitting there, throw it harder. And as you guys remember, you guys probably some of the clip number memorized, but whenever that ball would go in there, it was like, cue it up, the ball in the water.
I was going to say, one of the effects, I think, was 112A. Yes, it was like we cue it right up. We had 3 different options.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think my favorite Arizona moment with you is we had a producer who liked to prepare and liked to do his thing, and so we decided to do a 26-second pre-roll. Now, most people don't realize in this day and age, everything's on computers and digital, so everything's pretty much instant. We hit play, it goes. But in the old days, a 1-inch, you had long roll-ups so that the heads could connect, as you'd have like a 10-second pre-roll, so it's a pretty normal thing. So for fun, we're like, let's do a 26-second pre-roll to the open of the show. And I will never forget that, because you and I were totally simpatico, and everyone else like, what's going on? And we hit play, and the producer starts to get a little nervous, like, what are we doing? What's going on? And then it hits the top of the hour, and you lost your mind. And it was one of my favorite moments ever. You're like, it worked!
I do remember that too. I do remember getting a little nervous around 3 seconds. I was like, okay, it's 3. Let's hope this works. Yeah. I do remember that. I remember that very well. Yeah. I remember, doing some other things. We lit some stuff on fire with the Exmo. We put some stuff out there. We branded some stuff. Yeah, we had a lot of fun there. I really enjoyed my time there. I mean, I was there for 8 years. That's a long time to be anywhere. And we still have obviously a lot of really good friends there. So yeah, we had some definitely good times there. And we had like 4 different producers, something like that, 3 or 4 different producers. And it was always different, trying to get a feel for each producer and how they want to do, put their stamp on the show, or how you want to work with them. Every producer director relationship obviously is different. Some people want to do more. Some people want to do less. Some people want you to do this. Some people don't want to do that. So that's part of the deal. I think learning to be a director is not just, cutting the game, but how you interact with the person next to you and their whole crew, really and then, doing the duels and going to in different markets. I've been doing it now for 15 years. So you know a lot of these people and you know what to expect, but still it becomes this certain places you go, okay, I know I have to do this here, or I can't do this here. Dave Burchett once told me that he always thought the analogy was he was on a racehorse, and sometimes he could always just make that horse just a little bit faster, and sometimes, you're riding a mule and you just want to just get it to go across the finish line. Sometimes you're riding a thoroughbred. So, I'm not to say that compare a crew to a mule, but I'm saying that that's the kind of thing you always just want to, whatever you're on or whatever you're doing, you just want to make it just a little bit better, and you feel like that you've left your mark and done a good job.
Oh yeah, no, I mean you always have to kind of adapt to environment, and every group of technicians is different. But I think the greatest thing for me about regional television is on the national stage, you get to travel, you become a family, but it's pretty much every weekend, or it might be on a Wednesday. So you don't see each other as often. Whereas the regional, I mean, good and bad. Sometimes you get on each other's nerves after a 10-day homestand, but we are in the trenches every day, day in, day out with each other. And so it does build those great moments. But I will say, speaking of this for you, your Angels family took a pretty big hit last summer with Tyler Skaggs passing away. What was that experience like, especially the tribute game, and how did that affect the local crew and just the local Angels family?
Well, I will say that was it was a tragic moment. I mean, I'll never forget where I will be, for the rest of my life, where I was when I found out that he passed away. I knew Tyler from Arizona, and so when I came down here, to Los Angeles, just doing the road games, and he'd be like, "Hey, dude, what's up?" It was just one of those kind of guys that, he may not know my name, but he knew who I was. So we hung out. And there was a few times we hung out, had beers with him and a couple of other TV guys. But yeah, it was. So we were in Texas, and just the whole thing was just crazy the way it evolved. In Texas, they canceled the game. We have to do a press conference. You're trying to figure out what we're going to do, trying to talk to our bosses. How do you want us to handle this? We do that. Next day, we do a game on the road. We move hotels. There's no jumbotron. There's no announcements. There's no fireworks going off. Very somber. Then we go to Houston. We do the same thing there. Then we come home and we do the big tribute for him. And yeah, it was crazy. So we talked a lot, met with our producer and our bosses. I think it was a half-hour pregame show, and then his mom threw out the sermon on the first pitch, and it was it's hard. It was the first time, and I think second time actually, that I was actually I was crying during the national anthem. And people, I wasn't the only one. It was hard. And my handheld operator, Jumpin' Johnny, he got on and said, like, "Mitch, I'm having a hard time out here. He's shooting his mom." And it was like, "I know, man, hang in there." So, we do this game, we do this emotional first pitch, his mom, she's in the dugout. We got rid of a lot of commercial breaks. We stayed through a lot of stuff. And then the game happens, right? And then it's a special moment that, they have this number on the back of the mound. And Taylor Cole comes out, throws 2 innings. And then all of a sudden, it starts getting like, that's the 6th inning. There's no hits, and it starts getting like, there's just no way this is going to happen, So, Gubazah gets in talk back in the 7th inning and goes, is this happening? And we're like, yeah, like no one's really saying anything. It's just, and I will say, the whole crew, everybody was elevated their game. Everyone knew what was happening. And the whole ceremony ahead of time was just awesome. Everyone was just dialed in. Get to the 8th inning and we're like, holy shit, and then Gooby gets to talk about it, goes, this is happening. This is really happening, and we're like, now we're just like, okay, now we're documenting everything. We got handhelds everywhere. We're just, I still can't believe that it actually happened. And then, and then you get to 9th inning, you're just like, holy smoly, then all of a sudden, then it happens and it's a no-hitter. And it was a moment I'll never, ever forget. I mean, it was an incredible moment. People were crying in the stands, people were crying on the field. Players were crying. Then they took off their jerseys and they laid them on the mound. It was a moment, like I said, I'll never, ever forget that moment, and then I had my scorecard and I had both pitchers sign it for me, and they wrote some really nice things on it. It's just one of those moments like you'll never forget. It was an unfortunate moment for Tyler, but I think however you believe in or whatever you believe in, there's felt like he was definitely there looking down, manipulating some things. It was unbelievable. And I'm getting chills just talking about it now.
Oh yeah. And, I remember in our truck, email goes out in like the 6th inning, that they're in a combined no-hitter, and it's like, really? And so even in our truck, I forget if we were on the road or at home, but even in our truck, it was like our game didn't matter. The whole universe, like, all of a sudden started focusing, realizing like Tyler Skaggs, this is a major thing, and there's something special happening. And so, yeah, I'm pretty sure we played the end of the game as well when they did get the combined no-hitter. I mean, it was just a powerful moment. I mean, we could feel the emotion in our truck, so I can't imagine what your truck was like.
Yeah, I think I said, literally after I took the cut and Pena falls down on his knees. It was a great shot, and I said, no fucking way. I mean, and Gooby just was like, no fucking way. I mean, we were a lot of swearing, a lot of crying. But it was, those guys did a great job. Victor and Gooby they laid out and let the moment. Like, what else are you going to say? And just, they did a really good job in the whole thing.
You did a great job. I mean, I went back and watched it. It was amazing, the end of that game.
It was. And like I said, the crew just stepped up. And it was one of those things, like, it's a weird thing to be proud of something when someone passed away. But I think, we did it justice. And I think, that game will live on forever, and it'll be called the Tyler Skaggs no-hitter. I mean, how bizarre is that he wasn't even alive, wasn't at the game, but it's still going to be called the Tyler Skaggs no-hitter. So I think that's a tribute, testament to him, because he was quite the leader in the clubhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me personally, it's a testament to your abilities. I did get the pleasure of working with you for many years in Arizona. You're one of the best baseball directors I've ever worked with. There's things even as I've started directing games, and I kind of try to think back to things you did and the things you watched, and it's great for me. And so when I heard you got the chance, every baseball director's dream is to do the postseason. Any postseason, doesn't matter what it is. And last year was your first year you got the chance to do postseason baseball. What was that experience like after all the years of grinding through the RSNs and doing all the hundreds and thousands of games, and then all of a sudden there you are doing postseason baseball?
Well, it was great. I got a call just about a month out, and due to some other scheduling conflicts, they asked me to do it, and I was obviously thrilled to do it. I've been waiting my whole career to do it. I wanted to go 5. Of course, all the technicians were like, we wanted to go 3. I'm like, no way, I want to go 5, man. Let's go 5. And it did. It went 5. And the Yankees, I did the Yankees-Tampa Bay series, and it went 5. But it was a blast. It was really fun. It was, I worked with a crew that I kind of inherited. I added a couple of my own guys to it as well. But that part was a little challenging, trying to get guys to kind of think the way I think. But they responded really well. And I knew a lot of them already, but I hadn't worked on that quite a basis. And then working with Aaron Stroikoff, who I've known since 1991 as a tape operator in the Bay Area. I've known Aaron a long time, so that was great working with him as well too. So that made me real comfortable. It was a blast. I mean, I remember thinking like, okay, I wasn't sure how many cameras I was going to have. And all of a sudden I saw my list. I was like, wow, I got, because I had highs, I had mids, I had lows, you had left field, you had right field, you had 3 center field cameras. And so it was really cool to have that kind of stuff. Then you had to start thinking about, okay, how am I going to assign all these cameras? Because you have your basic cameras that you're going to do it, but then you have kind of the extra cameras, trying to figure out, okay, how do I give these guys a little bit of freedom, but I still want them to be within assignments, and trying to learn that. That's one of those kind of things that I think I try and give camera guys a little bit of freedom, but here's what I want you to do in this freedom. Like, if you have this choice, I want you to think this way or think this way. So it's not necessarily assignment on those kind of those freelance cameras. So that was a challenge, trying to get guys to think the way I think and like think through baseball situations. Okay, in this situation, I want you to do this. In this situation, the bigger thing is the defensive guy. In this situation, the bigger thing is the offensive guy. So trying to, make sure you have all your nuts and bolts covered with your regular cameras, and your add-on cameras, you're trying to get them to think the way you're thinking. So that was really fun, really challenging. And I was ready to do some more. Everyone else was, going to the next round. I was done. So, but it was cool to do. It was very cool to do. It was Houston. I said Yankees. It was Houston, Tampa Bay. But it was.
Now, was there any nerves for you when the other series went short, and now every eyeball's on you?
You know what? I think for me, like, you do so many games now. I've done thousands of games as a director, and you still get a little bit of a, nerve when you go on the air, but for the most part, you're pretty relaxed. You've gotten used to that feeling. But when I did the first game, when we hit that first open, I think that's when I felt like, all right, this is real here. We got some eyes on us tonight. So that's when I kind of felt it. When the other series ended, I didn't really feel as much. I felt it more on that first game, doing that first open, because we did it live, and and then they had the towel wave and all that thing coming in. So doing all that kind of stuff live, there's a couple of things you have to, one piece on tape, you had to make sure you get this piece and go back to that. That's what I kind of felt a little bit. And then game 5 was pretty fun too. You kind of felt like, all right, this is going to be over, but I wanted it to be a good game. It wasn't that great game. Houston was pretty much in control, I think, by the second or third inning. But you definitely did feel it in that first game. I was like, all right, this is what I've been trying to get to my whole life. And you kind of got it. Those little butterflies in the stomach more than usual, but it was fun.
Well, I got to say, it was well-deserved. I enjoyed watching that series. You did a great job. It was a pleasure having you on today, man. You're one of my favorite people to work for. It's Arizona's loss is LA's gain. Congratulations on all your success, man. It's well-deserved. Well,
thanks, man. I appreciate you doing this too. Like I said, I just hope I hope we get back to our real job soon enough. I'm on the other side of the camera for a reason.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But hey, thanks for doing this. And like I said, I just want people out there to, hang in there. Fox has stepped up. I think we got an email yesterday. They're going to go one more weekend. So that helps out some people. They're going to pay this the 19th. We're hoping that, Sinclair, they might help us out still as well. Other places have stepped up. Unemployment stuff is available for us, everybody. So do what we need to, hunker down a little bit here, stay safe, wash your hands, stash away some of that money, and hopefully we'll all be back here. I'm hoping, I don't know anything, but I'm hoping at least by July. I mean, you and I were talking a little earlier, maybe June, maybe May. God, let's just hope we get a season in, because we all need it.
Yeah, no, and I more than just the work, I just want sports back. I mean, it's just a level of we have the pleasure of working and getting paid to do sports, but I am a sports fan. I love sports and I miss sports. I mean, it's fun to watch the old games, but it's just not the same.
Absolutely.
So, all right, Mitch. Well, you have a good one. Get back to remodeling your home, your new home in LA, and have a good day.
All right, man. Peace. Take care.
See ya. For more information on today's show, visit our website at behindthecamerapodcast.com, and we'll see you next time.